wondering why I'm on the track, no one's chasing me. It's because I'm training for my interview with Susanne Lyons, who heads up the U.S. Olympics and Paralympics Committee. Susanne was kind enough to take time out of her week to talk about the future of the Olympics. We asked Susanne about the 2020 games in Tokyo. We asked her about the future of video gaming in the Olympics and the impact of COVID-19. All that and more in the interview. You don't want to miss it. Thank you so much for doing the interview. Thank you. I'm going to start with the first question. The Olympics is so iconic. Was it intimidating to head such an incredible organization?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here. And, it's a big responsibility to head up something as globally important as the Olympic and Paralympic movements. The good thing was that I had 8 years of experience as a board member. So I actually was pretty familiar with how the Olympics and the Paralympics work. And I had worked previously at Visa, who's a big sponsor of the Olympics. So I took over at a time of crisis. I didn't expect to ever be the chairman of the board. I didn't expect to be the acting CEO, which I was last year. And I'm not someone who you would typically think would be running a giant sports organization, but I did have a lot of experience managing crises. And so it sort of was logical for me to come in at the time that I did. And it's such an honor to be responsible for something with so many incredible athletes and something that's so important to people around the world.
The Paralympics is very important to me, as my cousin is a famous wheelchair basketball player. Do you see the Paralympics becoming more popular over the next decade?
Well, I certainly hope the Paralympics become more popular. A lot of people aren't as familiar with it because it hasn't been televised quite as much. The good news is that NBC has really expanded the amount of coverage they plan to do for the Paralympics. It was supposed to be this summer, but now it'll be next summer. And I think that'll really help people get to see how exciting these sports are, that they really are very elite athletes. And the thing I most love about the Paralympics is that everyone in those sports has a really interesting story. Every athlete, at that level has a good story, but a lot of the Paralympians have come back from something traumatic and have really become the best self that they could be as a result of overcoming some adversity. And so it's fascinating to me to talk to them because everyone has a great story, and it's also exciting sport when they get together and play. Yeah, I mean, what I usually say is, every athlete has an amazing journey, but some of the ones in the Paralympics have an unexpected journey, and they might never have become as great as they are without having experienced something that they didn't expect in their life.
That's actually a pretty good one. We might keep it. We might keep that. I'm going to really off the segue here. I read that this year's games will be delayed, as you said. I imagine that was a very hard decision. How did you all decide upon it?
Yeah, so deciding whether or not to try to hold the games this year was a very tough decision as COVID was beginning to evolve. Because for many athletes, they have been working their whole lives for this summer. They were, at their prime peak. They were ready to compete. And of course, most of them didn't want, to be canceled. But then as things evolved and it became clear that it would probably not be safe, not only for the athletes, but also for spectators to get together from around the world, it became a very easy decision. It was also a little bit difficult because the decision had to be made by the Japanese hosts. Tokyo is where the games were supposed to be. And there's a tremendous amount of money invested by the country of Japan in the games. So they really had the biggest say in whether or not to delay the games. And then the International Olympic Committee sort of was the next vote. And, the different individual countries certainly were weighing in on what needed to happen. And I had a lot of discussions with the head of the Olympic Committee, but it became very obvious that it wasn't safe. And so we had no choice but to delay.
If 2020 is going to be pushed back a year to 2021, when will 2024 be?
Well, surprisingly, 2024 will definitely be in 2024. So if we're able to have Tokyo 2020, which we'll still call it 2020 next year, everything else stays the same. The Beijing Winter Olympics will happen in 2022, and then the Paris Olympics will happen in 2024. Fingers crossed.
Well, I love playing video games, as most teenagers my age do. Do you think electronic gaming will ever be included in the Olympics?
That is a wonderful question. And I happen to be on an International Olympic Committee commission who is studying that right now, the Esports Commission. And we're trying to figure out if there's a connection that may happen. I don't think it'll be, at least in the near term, a medal sport. I don't think you'll see people competing, and standing on a podium winning medals, partly because there's so many different games and the athletes all play, they call themselves athletes, the e-athletes, all play different games. So some play League of Legends and some play Fortnite, whatever they may play. So there isn't really one game that they would all compete in, and they're all published by different publishers. But where I think there could be a connection is as sort of part of the whole festivity of the Olympics and the Paralympics. I could see, in the big Olympic stadium where people walk around and they're getting their food and they're seeing things. I think it would be amazing to have like a jumbo screen and have professional e-gamers battling it out and having people observe what that's like. One of the other interesting things that we learned is that really elite e-game athletes have a lot of the same issues that physical athletes do. They train all the time. They have their lives, they have to put their schooling on hold or their jobs and education on hold. They're so passionate about it. They have some of the same different physical injuries, but overuse injuries like in their wrists and their hands. So we discovered in this committee that there's a lot that we in the sports world can give to the e-gamers to help them think about their post-career after they're done competing and to help them keep their alertness and their mental state in good condition. So we haven't quite figured out what the intersection is yet between the Olympics and e-sport, but it's such a huge part of the passion of young people that I think we have to figure out how to make it either part of the entertainment side of what we do, or perhaps ultimately one of these days there will be a game that is the competitive game, and we'll see it as part of the Olympics. But for now, we're just looking to see how we can tap into that passion that people like yourself have for e-games.
Can I make a quick suggestion?
Yes.
If you were to make one game the Olympics game, I'm also biased on this. I recommend Mojang's Minecraft, just because.
Yeah.
A, one day I hope to be sponsored by Microsoft, but B, because I personally play Minecraft, it can be very competitive if you do player versus player.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to segue into another one.
All right, sounds good. I'm noting your preference.
Thank you so much. I was actually surprised to see shooting as an Olympic sport. What do you think is the least famous sport in Olympics?
I'm going to tell you one that I think may be the least well-known, which is modern pentathlon. So you tell me, do you know a lot about modern pentathlon?
No, I didn't even see it on the official Olympics site.
So modern pentathlon, which is as it suggests, a modern version of the original pentathlon, is 5 different sports altogether. And it was supposed to represent what a Greek warrior, what skills they would need to have if they had to deliver a message from point A to point B. And so the sports that are in it are swimming, because you might have to swim across a river, equestrian, they might have to ride a horse. They've got fencing, they might have to duel somebody to, kind of get through the enemy lines. Shooting is in there as well. And then the last one is, what's the last one? Oh, running. They might have to, run to finally deliver their message. So those 5 sports are actually all together. In fact, the running and the shooting is together. It's like biathlon, where you run and then you go to a shooting station and shoot and then you run again. In any case, it's, in my opinion, probably one of the least known sports. There's not a ton of people who participate in it, but it's a kind of a great thing to go see, because you can really see, it's almost like a mini Olympics. You can see 5 sports all at once in a pretty quick period of time. So that would be probably my guess. Other things like biathlon and luge may not be super high on a lot of people's radar as well, but we'll put modern pentathlon as least known and appreciated.
Well, modern pentathlon, I hope I pronounced that right, actually sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of in terms of your tenure at the Olympics?
What am I most proud of? Well, I guess if I thought about how would I like to be remembered, and this has been a pretty stressful last couple of years because it's been a very difficult time for the Olympic movement. We've been dealing with sexual abuse issues. We're now dealing with COVID. So there's been a lot of things that have happened. And I think what I'd like my legacy to be is that we really helped return the focus of the whole Olympic and Paralympic movement to the athletes, to thinking about their health and their wellness, as well as their success on the field. It's not just about medals and standing on the podium, although every athlete I know would like to have that happen. It's also about helping support them through their journey to get there, and also how to help them once they retire from their sport. So trying to think more holistically about the athletes as human beings is something that we've tried to do during my tenure. And if we can make some progress on that, that's something I'll be very proud of.
That's actually really interesting and very empathetic. I'm getting some stuff in my ear from my dad. I kid. He's not actually telling me it. He's reminding me, to be exact. But I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you. This is actually one of the biggest interviews I've done.
Well, thank you, Klaus, for having me. And I really was delighted to be part of your YouTube channel, and I wish you the greatest success.
Thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I should be the one thanking you no matter what, because this is a really big event, and also the Olympics is something that many kids are interested in, many people, many viewers, and also now myself. I mean, I wasn't that informed, to be honest, about the Olympics, but now I'm a bit more interested, and now I'll let my grandpa, who loves the Olympics, actually tell me about it.
That's right. Well, go to teamusa.org and you'll see how our athletes are training and living their lives right now, and it's pretty good stuff.
Link in the description below.
There you go. teamusa.org.